the first round, he's going to come out guns blazing. By the end of the first round, I'll have the range down. And then from the second round, it's just going to be surgical for me. I'm going to jab his face off and take that leg away from him, and then it's going to be game over.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. All right, Jack. We spoke after your last fight. You told me I will be on UFC 293. And I don't even know, maybe like a week or two after that, they announced your opponent. How do you feel, man, making this quick turnaround? In this sport, 2 months is a quick turnaround.
Yeah, really quick. But I begged to be put on the June card, right? Like Sean was kind of alluding to the fact like, oh, we've got September coming up. I don't know if I'll be able to back you up that quick. And I was like, I want to fight again. I want to go back to the US. And he came through on his end and gave me what I wanted, which was to fight again in the US. So I was happy enough. I was stoked that I got the opportunity to back up again in September. So, the hard part about a quick backup is often getting excited for it. Like if I had have been on a quick backup back in America, that would have been hard to get mentally up for, because it's like I've got to go back to the US, I've got to do all that again. Whereas it was super easy for me to get back up for this one because I'm going to Sydney. Like it's like fight in front of the home crowd. I've just got to get my camp done. My body was in pretty good shape after the fight, so mentally there was no challenge getting up and getting excited for it. So it's a quick turnaround in some aspects, but in others it's exactly what I wanted.
When an opponent, right, they sign the dotted line to fight you, you know, do you feel like an emotional switch yourself? Like when you sign the dotted line, that you know that someone's on the other side trying to kill you.
Yeah, I feel like for me that's becoming less and less of a thing. Like I used to go through things like where you would get a name, right? Because you back in the day, you never knew who you were going to fight on the local scene, where you would get the name and then you would kind of get those jitters of like, oh, I'm going to fight this guy. And then you would get the contract and then it would be another thing. And then they would release the poster and it would be like, you'd get that sort of jolt again, almost that adrenaline. Whereas now, I think as I mature a little bit, I'm getting better at just understanding that it's the consistency that's the key. Like you take the look at like Stylebender and Volk. They're the two guys from my region who have done the best, and it's just this constant like they never off. You know what I mean? They're always doing a little bit of training. They both party and enjoy their life. Don't get me wrong. But they're always. It's not this big build up and this big crash and this big build and this big crash. It's this level, always training, always working, and then also always enjoying the ride as well. And I'm really trying to do that and do that well.
For sure. And Chepe, what do you think of him? What kind of fighter do you see?
Tough, tough, a tough risk taker who's going to come in there and give everything. Um, this is, in some ways it's a fight that suits me, and in other ways it's a fight that's most dangerous for me because he's going to bring the fight to me. Right. In my previous fights, like the Don fight and in the Jamal fight, some of the onus was on me to take the fight to them. Whereas I know that's not the case here. Here, the fight's going to come to me, so I need to be smart and pick my shots. But I think I've got, not one tool or a couple of tools. I think I'm better than him everywhere. It's just about not getting caught in what he does well, which is draw you into this swing slugfest.
Yeah, that's one thing that's a tricky part about fighting is that you could be skilled everywhere against your opponent, but he just has to have that one night, right? It's not like other sports, right? It's this is different, right? He just has to have that
Yeah,
one night and
yeah,
just
like
that one shot, right?
yeah, for a runner, right? In a running race, the faster runner over 400 wins 99 times out of 100, and that one time is if like the guy trips or does something crazy like that. It's not like the slower guy has a PB night and that is enough to bridge the gap. Whereas in fighting, even the most dominant guy, like I'll have, there's nights in the gym where you have amateurs who will come in and they'll go round off you, and you'll go, that guy's only been training 2 years. How did he take a round off me just then? And then you have other nights in the gym where no one gets anywhere near you. And I think Chepe is a really good example of that style where he'll throw caution to the wind and just think you're going to make a mistake. I'm going to throw and just wait for you to make a mistake. So it's on me not to make a mistake. And I think I can put his lights out while he tries to do that.
Well, his debut, man, I think a lot of people didn't expect him to win that fight because he was
No,
facing
not at
off
all.
against Trevor Peek, man. Trevor Peek made his UFC debut with those standing hammer fists, you know what I mean? He became kind of a legend for that stuff. So everybody was all hyped on Trevor Peek and overlooked Chepe, and Chepe goes in there and performs really well, man. It was a wild fight though, right? It was pretty cool to
Yeah,
watch.
there's just no that's one thing I'm really big on and is super important for me because you have those experience where the amateurs will take a round off you if you're not on and stuff like that is that anyone can beat you. Don't overlook anyone. And particularly when you're in the UFC, everyone in the UFC is a killer. Everyone's good. So there's no easy fights. There's no foot off the gas. So like I'm showing up fit. Like I am fit and I'm taking this fight like as seriously as I've taken any fight ever. And the stakes keep getting higher for me. I think there's a good chance that we open up the main card on this show. So this is a chance to explode onto the world scene for me, and really, this will mark the beginning of my journey at the top 15.
Yeah, you obviously have a lot of momentum, and he's coming off a debut win as well with a lot of momentum. You know, what I mean, as the underdog, momentum versus momentum, man. It's a violent, result.
Yeah, 100%. And he's coming to my hometown. I know he knows they're probably going to boo him. He knows he's flown across the other side of the world. So I'm sure he's got a chip on his shoulder and he's got that dog, that he wants to pick the fight with me. But I'm going to be there for it. And I think I'm going to be able to put him out because he's going to come out hard.
Yeah, you mentioned in another interview that Chepe's fighting style will allow you to show more of your skill set. Can you give more detail on why you said that?
Yeah, so if you watch like the Jamal fight, quite a chess match in that was lots of like one and two strikes. Like there wasn't a lot of um we, I would sort of refer to it as ping pong. There wasn't a lot of like bang 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 bang. Like he goes, I go, I pull, he pulls, we go. Like it was very much snapshots of different exchanges. Whereas I do really well when people are overly aggressive and they expose themselves a little bit. I do really well at sort of missing the first couple of punches and then catching people on the way out, or getting people biting on fakes and then going after that. And I think that Chepe's style is going to allow me to show what I'm really good at, which is catching people on the way out of those exchanges.
The Korean Zombie, third round, Max Holloway. That was just crazy to watch, right? Like the Korean Zombie looked like he's like, this is the last round of my life. Let's just go out there and see what happens, right? It was fun.
Yeah, crazy. Two legends, and good on the zombie. I'm lucky that got to watch him do his thing. Coming up in my time, and then a little bit of my time in the UFC. And Max is obviously, 18-0 against the rest of the featherweight division if you don't count Volk. So, he's in a excuse me, he's in a fairly tricky position. So, what do you do?
Yeah, he is a tricky position, but the Korean Zombie, of course, he's a legend, and he's gonna be remembered for a long time. But the fighting style that he has, though, would you recommend that? You know what I mean? Like to an up and coming, one of the guys that you coach.
Nah, well, I've made a career off not getting hit, and that's not exactly what he's done. Um, and that's I think probably when analysts talk about me and my skill set, I think the thing that gets under talked about the most is the fact that I just don't take much damage, like to the body, to the head, to the legs. I'm really defensively sound, which allows me to get my offense off. And I know I'm gonna have those times. I've been in fights, where I've been hit and had to dig deep, and I have no problem being there for it. But if I could recommend to somebody a way to fight, it would be find a way to win without getting hit. Find a way that you're going to take the minimal amount of damage. Because the thing that you have to think is, it's not, all right, I'm going to fight 30 times in my career, so I'm going to have 30 fights. It's like, no, no, no. If your style is to get hit, then you're going to do it every week. Every sparring session, you're going to get hit by everyone. Whereas, so you've got to look at it like that. My style is very much, what can I get off without getting hit, or how can I mitigate that risk? And that's how I would encourage people to fight. But at the end of the day, everyone has their own style, and that's the beauty of martial arts, is finding what works for you.
Yeah, for every Korean zombie, there's thousands of other fighters named, Billy Bob, that has the same style. They just never made it to the UFC. They just never made it to the big stage, right? Yeah,
I know plenty of guys who are those bangers, those gym warriors, and they just, you know, taken however many years off their life by just having these gym wars where they would just go to town on each other. And it's like that's it's not the way to do it, especially if you want to have a good life after fighting, and that sort of thing. I understand a lot of guys don't have anything else, like that fighting's their life, but um yeah, I just think that do it in the way where you can take the least amount of damage. That seems smart to me.
I think the generation that's coming up now, if you look at the level of fighters and their style of fighting, that style is starting to slowly fade out. I think. That
Mm.
I'm a straight brawler. Yeah, the Korean Zombie got far for what he did, but I think now is the caliber that you have to face. You probably won't be able to reach, even the top 15 with that
For
style.
sure. For sure. And it only takes you get your lights put out so many times, right? Like I've seen guys who, had a really good chin for a long time, and then once it went, it was gone. And then it was KO after KO after KO after that, and you can never come back from it. So I think that you're absolutely right. The style's changing with this new generation.
Where do you get your perspective on like the sport? Because you're only a couple fights deep into your UFC career, but you're already talking like you're already 10 fights deep or 15 fights deep into your UFC.
I don't know. I think I'm surrounded by people who I have a lot of respect for, and I take a lot of their opinions on board. Like my two coaches, particularly Simon and Andy, um, we talk a lot about what's important to me, and that sort of thing, and knocking my head in the clouds and getting too caught up in the fact that now I'm a UFC fighter, and now there's you've got more followers and all this sort of stuff. None of that really matters to me. It matters to the point where I can convert it to a dollar value, but outside of that, it doesn't really mean much. And as far as sport, I've always been fairly introspective, and I like to look at things in a fairly deep way. So that's just who I am, I think.
You also mentioned in that interview that I talked about earlier that you didn't sign with the UFC and you just kind of just took this fight and you're betting on yourself. You know, I don't really see many fighters talking like that, right? Especially at the start of their career, talking about their contract and kind of like how they're gonna navigate through each fight, right? Like, where does that come from? You know what I mean? The maturity, like it's very rare.
Yeah, I don't. I could sit here and toot my own horn about the fact that I've got big belief in my abilities, which I do. But I also take a lot of ownership in the stuff that happens outside of the ring. Like I'm not interested in abdicating the duty to manage my own career off to somebody else, and then just sitting back and going, it's not my responsibility. I got, this didn't happen because it was their fault or his fault or whatever. I'm really interested in being, the captain of my own ship and the master of my own fate. So, um, I, I deal with the UFC. I email Sean. Me and my coach both, obviously, but we have an email thread, and I'm involved in those conversations. All sponsorship deals, I deal with them all myself, and um, you know companies that I deal with are often surprised. They say similar things to you, like, oh, you speak well, and you seem to have a good handle on this. Most people would have someone else doing it for them, and I just think, even the experience of negotiating things for myself is something that I'll be able to take into my life for the rest of my life. So why would I abdicate the chance to gain that experience to someone else? And as far as my contract stuff goes, I've always believed that I was going to get to the UFC, and I didn't think I was just going to get here. I always thought I was going to do really well. So, in terms of re-signing on a new deal with the UFC, a lot of people say get off your base contract, get off your base contract as soon as you can. But to me, if I got offered after a split decision win in Jacksonville that wasn't super impressive, which again, some people wouldn't admit that that wasn't a super impressive win, but it was impressive in some aspects. Jamal's very, very good, but on paper, it was a split decision win. If I go in and negotiate now, that doesn't put me in a very high leverage position, does it? But if I go in after this fight when Dana's going to be in the crowd, and one of my big factors is the way that the crowd interacts with me. So when Dana sees how the crowd interacts with me and a big performance where it's going to be a shutout or a finish, then that puts me in a much better position to negotiate and to leverage my next contract. So that's just why I wanted to do that. I want to go in and I want to back myself.
Yeah, Sean O'Malley, if you look at a good example,
Exactly.
is him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He deals with all his stuff on his own, and he's openly talk shit because he can now. He's the champ, right? Once you get to
Yeah.
that champ status, you could pull everything from under the rug, right?
Exactly. Sean's like, sorry, just let me plug this. Yeah, and I'm not on that level yet or that plane, but you can take, if let's say I'm doing a lower level deal now and then I do get into the top 5, the experience that I gained negotiating a level at the deal at the lower level is going to help me when I'm negotiating a deal at the higher level. So I'm not afraid of doing it. I'm not afraid of making a mistake, which I understand is going to happen. But I'm going to back myself to do it.
Man, you haven't made a mistake yet. 2-0. Got your
2 and
contending
0.
series win as well, and looks like you're gonna end 2023 with a bang. What do you expect in this fight, man? You mentioned possibly being the opener of the main card, which would be incredible.
Yeah, well, I when I heard that Kai Kara France was out, I messaged the VP of Warner Music and Entertainment, which is the parent company of the UFC, and I said, "Hey, there's a gap here. You know who the crowd's going to respond best to? Put me in." And he said, "I'll talk to the boys in the US." So we'll find out. But again, that's just me trying to position myself to make the most impact I can. So the way I see it going is if I go up there and I open the main card, it's going to be me and Chep to a fully sold out Kudos Bank Arena. The first round, he's going to come out guns blazing. By the end of the first round, I'll have the range down. And then from the second round, it's just going to be surgical for me. I'm going to jab his face off and take that leg away from him, and then it's going to be game over.
There you go. August 9th, UFC 293,
September
Sydney.
9th.
Sorry, September 9th. Why do I always get those things
You
messed up?
missed it.
We already passed. Yeah, we missed it. Jack already won. You know what I mean? He's already signed his new deal. Anyways,
Yeah,
thank you, Jack, man, so much for the time. It's
I
always good catching up. And yeah, man, all the
appreciate it,
best.
mate. Thank you very much.